Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special edition of Run Amok. I'm your host, Javen Takar. It is draft season. It has been draft season, but this is the first time I'm finally getting able to sit down and talk about some of these guys entering the draft. I have really did a lot of research here. Really wanted to just be right about what I was saying. I really wanted to know what I was talking about because I'm gonna be honest. Hey, hand in the air, I don't watch much college football during the season. Sure, I know the top guys. I know who's good, who's bad. Once the playoffs come on, yeah, I'm gonna tune in. But other than that, I'm not really a big college football guy. However, I am a big draft guy. I love the draft. I love it. Love knowing about the prospects. Love doing mock drafts. Love hearing this. Love hearing that. So, today we're talking quarterbacks. And I really hope to get to a bunch of the other position groups. You know, the receivers, the ends, the cornerbacks. And so I think that I'm going to do those positions first. Before I get into some of the weaker positions, like the running back, the linebackers. Okay, so I'm a big fan of the offensive line, so once I get to that episode, I'll probably get a little deeper on my opinions. I used to play the offense and defensive line, so those are my favorite positions to watch. And the first year, I'm really taking it serious, watching all the film and gathering all of this information just to be mindful and, again, know what I'm talking about with these prospects. So, with these quarterbacks, I'm only going over my top 5. Obviously, there are some other names, spoiler alert, that you're not going to hear on here. Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, Sam Hart, those guys, those lower tier guys, I'm not going to be touching on. Bo Nix, I'll talk about a little bit right now before I get into these guys. I think he'll be a decent quarterback. He'll probably get drafted. Don't believe the first round hype. He's a second, third round type of quarterback. He's just so average. He kind of reminds me of Mac Jones, who I know was a first-round quarterback, but in the way, I really don't believe he's a starter, but a flexible backup who you can feel comfortable starting. When he's 24 years old, he'll win you games, but I don't think you can rely on him to win you games, if that makes any sense. Kind of like the Gardner Minshew vibe, who he's just a guy that can come in, you know what you're going to get, he's reliable, but not in the way he's going to carry this team. More so just, you'll win despite him, if that makes any sense. I'm not a big Bo Nix guy, whatever. Okay, whatever. Enough about Bo Nix, enough about the guys that are off of my scale. These quarterbacks, I have ranked them in a pyramid. There's a different tier. Okay, so we're going to go top tier first. Number 1, standing alone, of course, it's Caleb Williams out of USC. I watched a lot of Caleb Williams because I really wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And the fuss being negative and positive, of course. I'm hearing all this generational talent. I'm hearing all this. He's not so good. He's overhyped. I want to see what it's all about. Where does he actually fall on that scale? And I feel like he falls definitely closer to the generational talent. I don't think he himself is a generational talent, but I believe that he has the tendencies to be a top 10, top 5 quarterback in the league. That being said, I feel like he fits that modern day quarterback type of mold. We've seen it, back in the day, there was the Peyton Mannings, the Eli Mannings, the Phillip Rivers. We can go way back. Dan Marino's, all these guys, pocket passers, of course. Tom Brady, of course he wasn't so highly sought after, but in the way that was the league, pocket passers. Drew Brees, work, facilitating the pocket, this and that, very smart, high IQ. Caleb Williams now fits the modern day quarterback role, what we've seen so successful with Patrick Mahomes, with Justin Herbert, even Joe Burrow a little bit. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, the guy that can move, the guy that got some flashy plays. Caleb Williams is that. He has that wow factor, which I know is not super reliable, this and that, but he's got it in him. He's got that dog in him. Very creative and crafty. He's a playmaker. What I will say, of course, with the quarterback, you want that set hike, 1, 2, 3, release, which is something that I'm going to repeat a lot of with these quarterbacks. You can't really rely Caleb to follow that type of pattern, though he can do it. I've seen guys say Caleb can't run the system of an NFL scheme, which is that 1, 2, 3 release. Caleb is more, he's going to snap the ball, he's going to look, and at that 1, 2, 3 release point, if there's a guy open, but maybe they're not at that first down marker and it's third down, or it's just kind of too easy of a throw, he's got his eyes upfield. He's looking for the big play every single time. And take that as you will. I personally have it as a pro. I want my quarterback to make the best play possible. Yes, the guys that 1, 2, 3 dish it down, yes, those guys have a place in the league. I don't think those are the playmakers. Those aren't the guys that are going to win you Super Bowls. That's not really what we see from Mahomes. Now, this past year, Mahomes, yes, we saw it a little bit where he was going underneath and it was a lot more yak stuff, but his receivers weren't the greatest. Caleb Williams is going to the Chicago Bears, point blank period. He's first overall, whether you like it or not. He's going first overall. He's going to have Keenan Allen, who, one of the best guys for a young quarterback, I believe. He's going to do great things with Caleb Williams, and of course, DJ Moore. The question comes to, how is Matt Eberflus going to handle Caleb Williams? It's really going to be a test on Eberflus to see if he is the head coach of Chicago's future, because this is a big, big decision. Another big thing about Caleb Williams, he gets that ball out. Some quarterbacks you see, they don't have the athletic ability to, get out of a sack. When the pocket is collapsing, they're a sitting duck. Even if they are kind of mobile, they're still a sitting duck. They don't have great footwork. Caleb, on the other hand, that pocket's collapsing. If he feels uncomfortable, he's either going to scramble out, skid his daddle, or somehow, some way, get the ball out, either get it out of bounds or get it underneath to an open receiver. He does not take negative plays. He's not a fan of that. Now, that's not to say that it happens. Against UCLA, his last game, he was sacked 4 times. Leatu Latu was killing it this game, a guy who I'm very excited to talk about in the Edge episode. Leatu Latu was killing Caleb Williams. He was killing the right tackle, left tackle. But at the end of the day, also, that USC team was just not very good, especially the offensive line. Caleb Williams, you couldn't even do the 1, 2, 3 release. He didn't have time for any of that. So you got to feel for Caleb. Couple cons. Despite the offensive line being so bad, Caleb kind of held onto the ball a little bit long, which was a narrative that I saw. It was a narrative that I didn't really believe. So yeah, he does hold onto the ball, which does play into him looking for the big play. There was a lot of underneath stuff that was open that he should have and probably could have. Probably should have dished it down to, which is probably something that in the NFL, Eberflus is going to want to drill into Caleb's head that, hey, this is the NFL, this is the big leagues. We need to take what we can get. Because, of course, those big plays are not always there. There was a lot of moments just watching this film that, you kind of got to pause it and just wow. He made some really incredible throws. I'm a big fan of Caleb. There was a lot more good than bad, in my opinion, at least from what I saw. What I will say is I kind of feel like he might play into bad comp against Nevada, who, a lesser team, where they got the dub 66-14, he was kind of just chucking it up a little bit, just kind of lobbing it over the top because he knew, these guys are kind of not so great. So I will say, maybe let's not do that. And then let's talk about the Notre Dame game, because I think that was a very interesting game. 4 interceptions, I want to say. 3 interceptions. One that everybody loves to talk about. They took the L 48-20. And yes, it wasn't Caleb's greatest game. But let's talk about those 3 picks. So first off, the first pick, really tough to put the blame on Caleb, in my opinion. Tough throw under pressure, major pressure, just the entire right side of the line. Just kind of messed up their assignments, it seemed. The right guard, right tackle, there wasn't much communication for the blitzers coming on that end. And so, like, the defensive end, came inside. Right guard didn't know if he should get him. Right tackle didn't know if he should get him. Just bad communication. Seemed like Caleb is under heavy scrutiny and throws a pick. Okay, yeah, it is what it is. The second pick, it was a tough throw, also under pressure, but also just a bad decision from Caleb. So again, that one, sure, we can pinpoint on him a little bit. The third pick, kind of a messy pocket. He had to kind of try to make a play. That superhero type of play style that he does kind of get into, where he believes it's all up to him, which in some cases with this team, it kind of was. But yeah, this is where the superhero playstyle went bad. And can't go backwards like that. You can't go willy-nilly, especially in the NFL. And of course, that's going to lead to an interception. So those are the 3 picks. 3 out of his 5 interceptions throughout the whole season. So you really can't say he makes too much mistakes. Hey. Throughout the season, he had 3,633 yards, 30 touchdowns, 90.3 PFF grade. Overall, I'm a big fan of Caleb Williams. I will defend him forever. Because I don't really agree with all the hate he gets. I know I talked about it a little bit in one of the Sunday show episodes. Crying in his mom's arms, I don't care about. Painting his nails, I don't care about. Wearing dresses, anything he does off the field, I truly don't care about. The only thing that matters is how does he play. He plays very well. He looks really comfortable in the pocket even. And I get it. The USC O-line was really bad, so he was kind of forced to scramble out a little bit. So Chicago definitely should look into building up that O-line. And yeah, I think that Caleb will do really well, though, especially, like I mentioned earlier, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, those guys are going to be really good for him. DeAndre Swift, even, like, surrounding Caleb with all these very smart guys, only going to set him up for success. First overall pick, and I think it's very well deserved. A little bit smaller, but I think he'll be all right. 6'1", 214 pounds. Yeah, he can kind of do it all. He's not a run first type of guy, just an improviser. He's a playmaker. He's going to boost his guys. Very excited to see Caleb in the Windy City. Now going into my tier 2. So yes, Caleb is all alone at the top, in my opinion. Tier 2, these 2 guys I can see going 2nd and 3rd overall. Maybe not in any particular order. I think you can't really go wrong. It just depends what you're looking for most. So, of course, let's go with Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina, standing at 6'4", 230 pounds. He went on ahead and he dropped 3,608 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 90.8 PFF grade, so rated a little bit higher than Caleb Williams. And everything that I hear going into Drake May was, oh, he's like Josh Allen. He's kind of a slight, smaller Josh Allen, which I can definitely see. He's definitely a risk taker. A lot of his risks pay off, though. He has his eyes downfield, but he doesn't pass up on the easy stuff like Caleb does. He loves going underneath. He's very comfortable throwing that 1-2-3 release. But the question is his release, his actual throwing release. People are saying it's kind of slow, which, yeah, you can kind of see that for sure. On the shorter throws, especially, it could be a problem. Of course, the teams we're kind of looking at May going is the Washington Commanders number 2 or the New England Patriots number 3, which could be very interesting, both spots. In my opinion, I do kind of lean him going Commanders a little bit. I think that he'll work with Dan Quinn type of quarterback prototype or role, mold a little bit better. Dan Quinn worked with Matt Ryan, worked with Dak Prescott, I want to say. So I could see that kind of working out in May's favor versus the New England Patriots, where going with the first-year head coach, having to have the load kind of carried on Drake May, a lot of it would be a tough situation in New England for Drake May, in my opinion, just because I do feel like he's he's a bit projecty. He always looks for the big play, yes, but again, he's kind of that Josh Allen in a way when we thought when we thought Josh Allen sucked. I mean, I know it was a long time ago. Josh Allen, when he first came into the league, he was like very hit or miss. I get those same vibes from Drake May. So I feel like he has to go, if he goes to Washington with a veteran head coach who is used to dealing with quarterbacks, I could definitely see him becoming a really good quarterback. If he goes to New England, I would definitely, yeah, that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks because it would be a lot of pressure on him to be really, really good coming out of college. Another team who I think would benefit the Minnesota Vikings, who has been in talks of trading up for a quarterback for very, very long. If they can get up to 3 and May falls into their lap, that would be really big, and I think that it would work really well for Minnesota, work really well for May. So any type of quarterback friendly where, it doesn't only have to be on him, but for his first 2 years, he can kind of learn the game a little bit, work in the NFL system, and I think that May can really work out well and be a really refined and refurbished, if that makes sense, quarterback, but definitely a little bit of projecty. He's not a safe prospect at all. Really, none of these guys are safe, per se. But he's very calm. He's comfortable in the pocket. He's very athletic. So he can do a lot of things. If you want him to scramble out and use his legs, he'll do that. But he'll also sit in the pocket and just dart up defenses all day, because he's that type of guy. And again, take those risks. If he sees a guy one-on-one going down the sideline, more than likely he's releasing that ball, and hopefully it gets caught. If he's got Justin Jefferson out there, yeah, it's going to get caught. But if he's got Juju Smith-Schuster with the Patriots, I don't know about that. He's very lengthy. Of course, standing at 6'4", but he's definitely strong. He's strong. He doesn't go down easy. I'm a big fan of his. He had to carry North Carolina, definitely. Like I was saying, a lot of load on him, a lot of expectations in college. Not too sure if that can carry on in the NFL. All in all, though, I'm a fan of May. I would like him to go second overall to the Washington Commanders for his sake and for Washington's sake, of course. I think it would work out really well for both parties. That being said, actually, that brings up a really good point. Yes, I'm talking about these 5 quarterbacks, and I'll be talking about how good they are, how great I think that they will be. But in hindsight, very rarely are 2+ quarterbacks actually good. So, when I get to this second quarterback, who I think is in the same tier as Drake May, who many of you can probably guess, I'm not saying that all 3, Williams, May, and Jaden Daniels, sure, we can name drop him now, are going to be great in the league. Though I do think they are great players coming in. Again, that's why I'm trying to bring up all these, their landing spots, because that matters. Their coaches matter. The team around them matters. And really, we can never predict how good these guys are going to be on this day until they actually get in the league. So just as a little disclaimer, because I know I'm going to be saying a lot of pros. I like to focus on the pros about these guys, so I just want to put it out there. Anyway, so yeah, I mentioned him, Jaden Daniels out of LSU, 6'4" as well, but 210 pounds, so 20 pounds lighter than Drake May. I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels. He was so fun to watch. His legs, he's just a natural runner. He gets out there, and his vision, it looks like a running back out there. But respectfully, not like Lamar Jackson, he's a running back. But respectfully, he's got great vision on design quarterback runs, on the draws, on read options. Big fan of his. Obviously, mobility is his biggest pro. However, when I'm going to his throwing ability, I kind of feel like he struggles deep. And even some short routes, I feel like he kind of tends to get the ball behind the receiver, which you don't love to see. And I also feel like he relied on Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas a lot. So a lot of negatives surrounding Jaden Daniels throwing. Yeah, I was very, very lenient with watching him always. It seemed like he had an eye lock on number 8 and number 11, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. And I was just like, okay, like let's see some more things. There was one play where I believe he had a guy open downfield, but he was just so locked on Neighbors, and I think Neighbors dropped it. So it was like, come on. But back to the pros on Daniels being such a great runner. The whole thing about him was like he's such a small build, 210 pounds, and he takes such big hits. He's not going to survive in the NFL. Which, yes, there's some truth in him taking big hits, but also he doesn't really go down easy. As long as he can learn how to slide or get out of bounds, just kind of evade these big hits, like these arm tackles, all this weak stuff, despite him having a slider build, he doesn't go down. He's very shifty, very slippery, and yeah, very exciting. Like, he brings a certain type of juice, a certain type of energy, super fun to watch. He's going to bring some dynamic to either Washington or New England. It kind of seemed like he does usually work out of structure, so he's not that 1-2-3 release type of guy, but there were some flashes to where he potentially could. But most of the time, yeah, he's scrambling out, moving the pocket. It kind of seemed like if it wasn't that 1-2-3 release, he's out of there. He's out of there, which is actually what I thought a little early on. But then watching some more deeper in, yes, he kind of had some footwork where he maneuvers in the pocket, and very fun to watch though overall. I feel like I had this really, really good kind of tier level on what Jaden Daniels could be, a tier within a tier, if you will. So I think his absolute ceiling is Lamar Jackson. 2-time MVP winner, super fun. Can kind of develop that throwing as we've seen Lamar be able to do. Middle tier, where you can't be too mad at, but you also kind of wish it was a little bit better. Kyler Murray. A lot of times they're watching him, and I'm like, that guy looked like Kyler Murray out there. Just the way he evades in the pocket, gets out of traffic, gets out of trouble, very slippery, slips out of there. Looked like Kyler Murray, and even kind of some of his throws. Where Kyler Murray struggles, I feel like the same where Jaden Daniels struggles. And then his absolute floor, rookie Justin Fields was just the easiest thing I could kind of think of. Maybe a little bit lazy because both just kind of mobile guys, but rookie Justin Fields wasn't the greatest and he was so raw. There was a lot of work to be done, where I think that same thing can kind of happen with Jaden Daniels, where there was a lot of work to be done and, maybe not the easiest prospect to work with straight out of college. But again, though, that potential is there, and we saw Lamar Jackson do it, where he could develop that throw, he could develop the accuracy. Also for his running, actually, I really wanted to mention, he runs straight up. We saw Lamar Jackson, how he used to run straight up. You gotta go down a little bit. Not, where you're gonna injure your head, but running straight up, you're going to get a lot more injuries and definitely a lot more dangerous versus, you kind of see running backs, they stay low. You kind of want to get a little lower. So just a little nag on Daniels there. Can't be too positive on his legs. So there is that. Also struggles on timing a little bit. Again, I mentioned the 1-2-3 release. Gotta develop that a little bit more, my guy. But overall, I see the top 3 buzz around him. I know people were like, nah, not a top 3 quarterback. The Patriots should go Marvin Harrison, which I think I do agree with. I just don't trust a new coaching regime with a new toy, a new quarterback, especially a raw quarterback that needs a lot more development. I personally just don't trust it. I think he could work with the Commanders, again, with Dan Quinn, a coach who's been here. He knows how to deal with these types of things. Of course, Dan Quinn didn't really work with the new type of mobile quarterback, but he could potentially develop that arm with Jaden Daniels. But New England, I feel like it would be tough. It would be a tough ask for him to carry that heavy load with New England. So honestly, I see the top 3 buzz, and if a team like the Vikings trade up to go get him, okay, I'm happy. But if he goes to the Patriots, I do think he'll be kind of a bust and not super great, but I see the hype. I'm a fan of Jaden Daniels. I like him. Already, and now in that third tier, also sitting alone, JJ McCarthy. Now, before I watched these guys, I was not a fan of JJ McCarthy's. I thought he was just kind of like a glorified Jimmy Garoppolo. And I will say, I thought he was like a pre-ACL, pre-torn ACL Jimmy Garoppolo, who relied heavily on the run game and his coaching around him. Do I still stand by that? Partially. I think he's better than a pre-ACL Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the potential is better than a pre-ACL Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the youngest quarterback that we're talking about here, so you can argue that there's a lot more potential there. It just depends on what your definition of potential is. Okay? Watching him, he is a lot more mobile than I thought he was. He is almost like, I think he's just half a tier below Jaden Daniels mobility-wise. Super athletic. So you got to give McCarthy that. I feel like he wants to sling it. You can kind of see the play calls. There was one play that really got me where it was a clear cover 3 defense. The seams were open, and he just didn't throw it. And I'm like, come on, my guy. And I feel like I don't know if it's McCarthy not confident in himself or Harbaugh holding him back. Harbaugh thinking that, my scheme, this is what you're going to do. Because I do kind of feel like McCarthy can be that type of robot where has the coach in his headset, this is your first read, this is your second read, just trust it. And then just because he does follow that 1, 2, 3, go. I mean, it's no secret that Michigan really relied on that run game. We can say they kind of did like a Shanahan type of offense where it's a run first, very quarterback friendly. So that's where McCarthy will thrive in the Shanahan type of offense. I think if the Vikings feel that he's the guy, that's okay. I also feel like if the Broncos, who aren't part of the Shanahan tree, if the Broncos feel like he's the guy, I quite like that as well. Pair him with a veteran coach who knows what he's doing, Sean Payton, who is sick of Wilson, that was trying to get crafty and get cute doing what he wanted to do. Payton is going to be mad. Payton is going to want a young guy here, McCarthy, who is just going to eat up what Payton feeds him. So I think he could work really well in Denver. Maybe not a franchise quarterback, but maybe a successful quarterback, which is not a bad thing to be. Sure, you want the guy that's going to win you a Super Bowl and do this and do that. I'm not too sure if McCarthy is that guy, but, you won't be able to complain. He's going to be replaceable in a couple years, but you're not going to really be desperate to replace him. He'll lead some playoff berths. 2,991 yards, didn't even get 3,000, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, mostly just because he didn't really need to sling it. And again, I feel like he wasn't really trusted by Harbaugh. He doesn't really have that wow attribute, which Caleb Williams has the wow factor. Jaden Daniels has his wow rushing ability. Didn't really see that with McCarthy. He doesn't really bait the defense into what he's doing. And kind of what you see is what you're going to get. And I know it sounds like I'm being really negative about him, but I feel like, the best thing I can say is, he's going to be very robot-y. He's going to the coach is going to tell him this is what's going to happen, and he's just going to follow that. And sure, you can argue that that's a bad thing, especially with how athletic he is. It's not. As long as you win games at the end of the day, which I do think McCarthy can do for you. And I mean, he'll have his flashes where he'll look like, one of the best quarterbacks in this class. I think that him alone in this third tier is pretty fair because he's not as bad as the Bo Nixes, as the Rattler, as the Penix. He's not in that tier. And I don't mean to say bad in a negative connotation. I shouldn't have said bad. He's just not there. But he's not good enough to overtop May and Daniels. And there's reports coming out that he's going to go to the Commanders, the Patriots. These teams are interested in him. I don't believe that for a second. In my opinion, I believe that his best fits are going to be the Vikings and the Broncos. Honestly, I was like, I don't even think he's a first round quarterback. I don't think he's a top 10 pick. I don't think he's worth it. Uh, I mean, I guess if you take him there, sure. Kind of depends who else is on the board. I don't really feel like he'll be best player available in where they're at. But with those teams' needs, what they've been having to do, yeah, I feel like we can kind of see the Vikings and the Broncos maybe get in a fight over McCarthy, just because he is that type. He would work really well with either of those teams. A lot of work needs to be done with him. He's no doubt a safe prospect again, but he can deliver. If you think of a team like a car, I'm saying he's like the wheel. He's like, and not the steering wheel, like one of the four wheels, where it goes, but not because of him. You know, the wheels don't move on their own, right? If that makes any sense at all. But yeah, and if the Commanders trade down from 2, I'm a big fan of Dan Quinn. You know, he worked with Matt Ryan. He knows about quarterbacks. He's been in the league a long time. If the Commanders trade down from 2 and they want to pick J.J. McCarthy because they feel, you know, I don't know, for some reason, sure, that's fine. That's fine. That would be fine. All in all, I think he's a shifty, athletic quarterback who definitely misses some reads. He can make some very nice tight window throws for you, but the team is not going to win because of him. More so just it's a talented team, and he's able to dish that ball out around. Not a bad quarterback, though. Not a bad quarterback at all. Not trying to hate on him. Think he's a really good, really fun quarterback. I had a lot more fun watching his film than I thought I was. He'll be solid. He'll be solid. And now, the 5th tier, standing alone, Michael Penix. Again, Michael Penix, nothing bad about him. Just don't think he's not on the level of Bo Nix, not on the level of Spencer Rattler, Sam Harmon, all those guys. They are below him. Michael Penix, not a first round quarterback. In the second round, you know, if you're the Falcons, you're the Broncos, you missed out on McCarthy, you missed out on the other quarterbacks. Penix, I think, should be your first choice in that second round, maybe even the third round, depending on how things go. Super accurate. I mean, that arm is no lie. You know, you hear about it all the time. Oh, yeah, it's seen. He makes some incredible throws. His ball placement is elite. Probably the best ball placement in this entire draft. And for being a lefty, he's got a really fast release. Shoo! Shoo! That ball just comes out. And, again, being a lefty, he's very comfortable throwing to his right side, which we see some right-handed quarterbacks who, you know, kind of struggle throwing outside the numbers to the left. That's not really their type of thing. McCarthy, doesn't really throw outside the numbers very well, especially to the left side. But Penix, he's slinging it. He's comfortable throwing it. Sure, he misses some throws, but he is comfortable. He has the ability to do so. I'll take that. As long as he tries, it'll come. For some cons, though, I feel like his arm strength is a little lackluster. It's not the strongest in the class at all. And so I think that's something he can definitely work on. And also his injury history. He's hurt his knees. I think he might even have some back. I just know he has a long injury list that is definitely concerning. Definitely turns some teams away, unfortunately. And also his age. I've seen people say he's 23. He's gonna be 24 in May. Same age as Jaden Daniels. Just a year younger than Caleb Williams. McCarthy is 21, so sure. And then he's younger than Bo Nix, but, you know, he'll be the same age, whatever. I think that the age is a little bit overblown. You're still getting a fresh 24-year-old. He'll be 23 when he's drafted. Like, you know, you'll be fine. I think Penix is a very capable starter. He doesn't strike me as a franchise quarterback, but he does strike me as a guy who can compete. He'll be able to win some games. He's going to make some very flashy throws. He's going to be he'll be good. He'll be solid. He'll be in the league for hopefully a long time. Fingers crossed that those injuries don't catch up to him, obviously. Threw for almost 5,000 yards in Washington, 4,903 yards, 36 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 91.1 PFF grade. He definitely benefited from the Washington offense, for sure. You watch that offensive line. He had a lot of time back there. Troy Fatanu, whew, that boy was eating. I had a lot of fun watching Troy Fatanu as well, while watching Michael Penix. His ball placement and accuracy really reminds me of Matt Stafford. He really looked a little Matt Staffy. Also, a little bit Russell Wilson-y. Little Rusty. Because, yeah, the way he was able to move a little bit. He's not just a statue in the pocket, but he does have some mobility. He can move around. He can pick up a couple yards with his legs. Of course, with his injury history, maybe you don't want him to do that so much. But I'm not mad at him moving around a little bit. I know some people are scared to draft lefties. I kind of feel like Sean Payton might be one of those guys. But, hey, maybe he sees some Drew Brees in him. Maybe. Just maybe. And Sean Payton pulls the trigger. But again, in the second round, I don't think he would be worth the first round pick. Respectfully, I think you can wait for the second round to come on by. Go on ahead and take him, and he'll be very serviceable. I think you'll be happy with the pick. You'll definitely get the value if you get him in the second, third round. The value will be there. And, yeah, big fan of Michael Penix. But those are my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL draft. I've been waiting very patiently to make this video. Been very busy, but I try to get in this film as much as I can just so I can form a proper opinion because, hey, that's important to me. So, yes, that's going to wrap up this episode. I will see you in the next episode where I'll probably go edge rushers. Maybe we go offensive linemen, maybe cornerbacks. I don't know. This class is very deep in a lot of different positions, so definitely want to cover them all before the draft that's coming up just around the corner. So, yes, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for all that fun stuff. Hope you enjoy the Sunday show that we put out every Sunday. And yeah, I will see you on the next one. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you agree, disagree? Do you think Caleb Williams sucks? Do you think that Jaden Daniels is QB1? Do you think Bo Nix deserved to be on here? Let me know what you think. I would love to hear it. And if you don't want to comment on YouTube, you can go over to the TikTok. Give me a follow. You can comment on there. You can hate on there. I'll see it probably more on there if you see it, and if you do so. And yeah, I would love to hear some feedback. Make sure you subscribe, like, and give me some feedback. I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Run Amok. I'm your host, Javen Takar. See you then. Peace out.